research at WHOI for community college students. So I am a STEM program coordinator at 4Cs and the Cape Cod STEM Network, which is the hub for Massachusetts STEM Week happenings in the Cape Cod region. And I am pleased to introduce our panelists here today. So Kama is the undergraduate programs coordinator at WHOI. Greta is a researcher at WHOI in microbiology and also a professor here at Cape Cod Community College. Greta, who you'll hear from, she has led the CC Crew program development, which you're going to hear more about today. And then our director of the Cape Cod STEM Network, Bridget Berger, who is here as well. She serves as the co-PI on the CC Crew project. CC Crew is funded through a grant from the National Science Foundation, along with the Blue Economy Internship Program, which is also funded through STEM Starter Academy funding, which is an initiative of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Higher Education. So Kama and Greta are joined today by Teodora, a student who participated in the CC Crew program in the summer of 2023, this past summer. She graduated from 4Cs this May with an associate's in physics, and she's currently studying for a bachelor's in physics at Bridgewater. So thank you all for joining us. I will now let our panelists share about the opportunities for community college students to explore ocean science research at WHOI.
Hi there. Well, I'm just going to start off. Did any of you join in on the how to become a marine biologist last night, the ocean science series? So you got a little feeling for WHOI and some of the work. So that was the biology department at WHOI. I'm really glad I see people are nodding. So that's wonderful. They said there were 3,000 participants that were Zooming in. And we were probably, I would say, 75 or so, between 75 and 100 in the audience. It was live. I was there. It was a treat. All right. So what I would like to start off with is give you an introduction to WHOI. So we use WHOI, but that really stands for Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. It was founded back almost 100 years ago. And it's actually the largest nonprofit organization that is dedicated to understanding the ocean. So we are a research nonprofit organization. There are around 1,000 employees at WHOI, so that actually makes it the second largest employer on Cape Cod. So for those of you who would like to stay in the area and who are, interested in work, we need workers, and we need people in many different areas of the work that's going on at WHOI. So that's what I'm trying to introduce you to here. And if you are, some people have lived on the Cape and they haven't yet been down to Woods Hole, but this is where WHOI is located, in Woods Hole. And I've added, Cape Cod up here in Barnstable. There are 2 campuses, and we actually, some buildings, and that's where the recording was yesterday, was downtown here in the village itself. And then we have a larger campus that's right up the road from Woods Hole. It's between Falmouth and Woods Hole. So what do we do at WHOI? Well, the whole organization is all the work has kind of a unifying theme of understanding the ocean and trying to, how its health is, how it's impacting our health, and just understanding how it works, because our globe is 3/4 or so of ocean, so it's an important area. And how we study the ocean, or how we work, there are 4 kind of areas of work that goes on at WHOI. So you have the research component, where people go out and in the environment study or monitor. We have the engineering component, and many of the engineers will work with the researchers directly, building equipment, develop some of their own equipment, some brand new equipment based on the research needs. In order to get this equipment and the scientists out, we need to have an operation parts. And they're the people who are in charge of, the big research vessels, and also monitoring and getting out to some of these monitors that are around. And then the part where we belong to and where we are including students to is the education component. So we have several educational programs, anything from this community college program to undergraduate programs to a graduate program with MIT. And then we train students who have received their PhD as well. So it's a combination of all types of work and people and careers. And some of the research areas, it's pretty broad. You can see it here. They're touching on anything, how the oceans and the climate interact, circulations in the oceans. Some are looking at the tectonic plates in the oceans, deep sea exploration. We have some of these vehicles that can go pretty far down into the ocean. We're looking at chemistry, so the biogeochemical cycles of the oceans. The ocean along the coastline that it can affect human health. And ocean life, understanding, who's living in the ocean, how they're interacting with one another. And also this autonomous vehicles and the sensors, so how we can study the ocean using, reaching parts of the ocean that we can not necessarily get to ourselves as people, like through diving and so on. And then, human-ocean interactions. I think from your interactions, it seems like a lot of topics that many of you could fall into, or many of you can fall into several of these topics. And this slide is just showing some of those vehicles that they're developing at WHOI. It's really exciting, and it's, a lot of it's engineering, building tools, but the beautiful thing is that you don't build a tool just to build a tool. You build a tool to do the research. So we have a really nice mixture of collaboration of people from different areas that work together. It's really unique in that you get to work with other people. You get to have feedback. So it's a kind of a multi area. So even though you might be interested in physics, you might be interested in chemistry, might be interested in biology. I'm a microbiologist, but there are kind of collaborations that are going on in all of these fields. So why are we here today, Cam and I, representing WHOI? And really, we would like to invite you to come to WHOI to explore, see what your STEM paths might be, where your STEM might take you, and kind of just see what are the possible areas of work you could do with a STEM degree. And also what from the people who are working there, and what are the educational paths they've taken in order to get where they are today. All right, and this is leading into the Kama section, where she's going to introduce this experience that we have for this upcoming spring.
So hi, everyone. I'm Kama Thieler, and as Rachel mentioned earlier, I work in the academic programs office, so the education office at WHOI, primarily with our undergraduate programs. So Greta's driving the slides for me, so I'm just going to ask her to move on to the next slide. So the first program that we're talking about today is this Blue Economy internship, and it has a couple different components. The first is that we run a short course in early January, and that gives the students a nice introduction to research across the institution. And the theme of that course is the Blue Economy. And, I don't know how much you've come across that term in your studies or in the news, but that just has to do with industry and research and activities that have to do with the ocean, and how the ocean is an important part of our livelihoods and the economy of this area where we live. And so I'll go into a little more depth about the topics in that course, but just know that that course is one component. And then there's the internship placement that takes place through the rest of the spring semester. The course is about 20 hours of time on site over these 8 days, plus some added field trips. And then the internship is about 50 hours on site at WHOI. So it's something that you're doing at the same time as you're taking your spring semester classes. This is a paid internship. So for both the course and the internship time, you will earn a stipend of $17 an hour. And we also are able to provide a transportation allowance or a mileage reimbursement. So if you're driving, I know some of you may live either off the Cape or in Outer Cape, we will be able to help out with those costs, those transportation costs, or if you're taking the bus or some other type, or if a family member is driving you, we will be able to help out with those travel costs. And then finally, you are enrolled in the 1-credit internship class, ENB 260, and the tuition for that class will be covered. So it'll be paid by the STEM Starter Academy. And just as we go, I'll just point out some of the images that you're seeing. For example, here's a student on the top working in a biology lab, doing some microscope work. Another student in the bottom image is standing next to an image of sea surface temperature. So that's something that is studied when you're studying ocean currents or studying the climate and how the ocean and the atmosphere interact. Was there a hand raised? Sorry, we didn't really talk about questions, but I think we can take some questions as we go, but then we'll have more time later. Any question now? Okay, great. So Greta, next slide, please. So now I'll talk a little bit more in depth about the course. And so as I mentioned, we'll be exploring these blue economy topics, and they can include aquaculture, marine robotics and sensors, offshore wind energy, things like coastal water quality. I know some of you mentioned that, also plastic and oil pollution. I think, Hopi, you mentioned that as an interest of yours. Fisheries. So as you can see, these are all areas of research that impact our livelihood and the economy of Cape Cod and coastal Massachusetts. And you can just see across the bottom here kind of some scenes from the course. So we meet for 2 hours a day on these 8 days, and there'll be a short lecture where you're introduced to a topic, and then there's some type of hands-on activity or demonstration. And so you can see in the middle image, the students are building a scale model of a wind farm. So we're talking about wind energy and then getting an understanding of what it looks like when all these turbines will be built in Vineyard Sound, for example. And then the far right image shows one of our students. You might recognize Michaela Accord. She was a 4C student. She's piloting a mini remotely operated vehicle, a mini ROV in a test tank. And so one of the great things about this course is that it happens in a new facility at WHOI, which is a facility for autonomous vehicles and sensor design. So even if you're not an engineer, it's really interesting to be kind of immersed in this working environment where engineers and scientists are working together, and that's where our course is happening. So we're kind of in the middle of a lot of things going on campus. So as I mentioned, there are 8 sessions, about 2 hours each. It'll include both a lecture and hands-on activities and tours during the course. Okay, next slide, please. And then the second component is the actual internship placement, where depending on your interests, you'll be placed in a research lab or an engineering shop or with some technical group that most closely matches your interests. So you can see across the bottom, unfortunately, Jack is wearing a hat here, but you may know Jack Driscoll is an engineering student at 4Cs. He's working in our fabrication lab, our big kind of makerspace here. It's called Dunkworks, and there are a lot of really amazing 3D printers and cutters and advanced equipment, and he's training on that. You can see a student in the middle working in a biology lab, sorting out a plankton sample. And on the right, one of our students, Michaela Newbury, she's presenting her research. So that is also something that happens. We'll ask you to give a short presentation on your research. So you get a chance to practice some of your public speaking and presentation skills, but in a very friendly, non-stressful environment. The schedule is flexible through the semester. So depending on what your course load is, or if you're working after classes, you'll be able to set your schedule with your mentors here. So you'll learn various skills, become part of a team, and then also have the chance to present about your work. Next slide, please. So this is just a little more about the qualifications and the actual application itself. So you need to be currently enrolled in a degree program at 4Cs, and you just need to be excited about STEM and interested in learning more. You don't have to be very far in your studies. We're only asking for you to have completed 1 or 2 community college science or engineering classes. So you don't need to have a great idea about what your whole career is going to look like. It's just more, this is the time for you to get exposed to different types of research and different types of career paths, and even different job possibilities that are open in the region. The application itself is open, and we'll share the link to the website. The application will be due on November 15th. So there's a form that just includes basic contact information, but then we ask you a few questions about your education and career interests. And those can just be a few sentences or a short paragraph, but that's where we'll learn more about your interests in the program and what type of lab placement would be best for you. We ask for you to send us an unofficial transcript and then 1 letter of recommendation from one of your course instructors at 4Cs. And we can also take a second letter of recommendation from a job supervisor or another faculty member or somebody else who you would like to write a letter on your behalf, but we really just are requiring the 1. And then we will let students that have been selected know by December 1st. And I think that is my last slide. And I don't know if we can have time for a few questions about this program before moving on. Is that okay, Rachel and Greta?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, great. So does anyone have questions I can answer?
How many students do you accept from 4Cs?
From 4Cs, we're looking to take 4 to 6 students in the program for this coming year.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And then I have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
So I've already gone to undergrad. I've already got my bachelor's, but this is my first semester at 4C, so I haven't technically completed community college classes.
Okay.
Does that disqualify me, or would it still count even though I have my bachelor's already? Does that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely still apply. These qualifications are not super rigid. So I definitely encourage you to apply. Are you changing fields? Are you?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it would be a situation where we would maybe ask for you to send us your transcript of your previous bachelor's.
Perfect.
Because that would
Yeah,
just
not a
show
problem.
us.
I can do that.
Okay. Yeah, because that
Okay,
would just
great.
show us your coursework from before.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, we would definitely consider your application.
Okay. And then my second question is, you said the internship part is about 50 hours. Is it maxed out at 50? Are we able to work more than that if we are able to fit that with our schedule, or what's your policy on that?
So the answer to that is maybe. We have had many students who are able to extend their hours. It's just a question of working with the advisor to see if they're able to accommodate that.
Okay.
We set 50 hours. That kind of translates into 4 hours a week if you're only coming once a week for the rest of the semester. But some students do have the flexibility, and that would just be a discussion that we had with you and whoever your mentor is to see if that works with their lab schedule.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Alicia. I have a question.
Sure.
Is the research that is conducted as part of the internship something that tends to be publication worthy?
Not usually in this program. There have been some students that have been invited to present at meetings, for example, but given the contact time, it's not usually the type of project that is resulting in a publication. We do have some students that have done the Blue Economy program and then come back into the program that Greta will be talking about. And, with more time on a project, there could be outcomes where a student might be involved in a publication, but this program is really to give students exposure. They may not have kind of a tidy, neat end to a research project at the end of this. It'll be more, they've learned these skills, they've made contacts, they've learned about different career paths, but it's a little different than maybe a longer term research project where they are presenting findings, which would be a little more in line with the other program that Greta is going to talk about.
Okay, thank you.
And let's see, I see a question in the chat. Is there a preference for science or engineering close? Not necessarily. I mean, we would want to see some preparation. For example, if we were going to place a student in an engineering lab, it would make sense that they've taken kind of the intro robotics classes or some of those intro engineering classes. But I think if you can show that you've taken some introductory classes, even if you've taken biology, but you're interested in working in chemistry lab, we would definitely consider that. Emily, does that answer your question? So, okay. And so you can see on the slide, you're welcome to reach out to me. This is just a general account, but I monitor it, education@whoi.edu. And that's also the email address that you'll see on the website for the program.
Any other questions? Or if I can just comment on it, it's like Emma was saying, it's very much to just get into a research group to see what type of work is going on. This is not you're not necessarily assigned to a research project and be expected to compare to contribute to a research project. This is a very basic introduction. So that's also why we feel like the students who are coming in, that they should be excited about STEM. That's pretty much the only requirement. They want to learn, they want to explore the paths. So that we're particularly looking for students who are transitioning from a different field, like if you have a bachelor in a different field but want to get into the STEM field, that's perfectly okay. So that's what we're building, that STEM identity. So.
Do you do any internships off campus or are they all on campus? Does the research take you off?
They have been occasional opportunities for students to do some field work. So for example, we've had students out on boats doing some sampling with their mentors, but typically they are coming on site to WHOI and working in the lab on site on the campus.
Thank you.
Are there, this is Alicia again. Are there opportunities for internships related to education in STEM?
Not through this program. I think that would be more in line with something like offered through the Cape Cod STEM Network for teachers and residents, that type of thing. Or something that working with the WHOI Communications Office, but that wouldn't fall under this umbrella.
I have one more question. How long has this program been around? I mean, have you seen success with it? And
yeah, so this will just be the third year that we're offering this particular program. But I can say that we have seen success in that we have seen multiple students that have come through both this program and CC Crew that have transitioned into four-year colleges and been successful at finding research opportunities when they do transfer. Just by having this introduction and having this background experience, they're ready to look for research opportunities, work study in labs when they do start at a four-year college.
That's great. And I think it's because you said it's more like an overview. You're getting introduced, not just to that one thing where it goes while you're there.
Right. And we have also had a couple of students that have been able to have employment or have a longer term placement at WHOI after the program.
Any other questions or? If not, then I think it might be a good continuation to start with the project to the program that I'm introducing, the CC Crew program, because we've had some students who have taken the Blue Economy internship program, participated in that, and then they found they really like this. They would like to a little bit more of a taste for doing research at WHOI. And what they have then transitioned to or been able to join is the CC Crew program. So this is a community college research experience at WHOI. And we have received funding. So Bridget Berger and Julie Huber and I, we were funded from NSF for this program. And also we are receiving some funding through the STEM Starter Academy for stipends for the students. And I'm going to be talking about the CC Crew, and along with me is Teodora Shevkova, who was a participant in the program last summer. So this is a program that goes over the summer. And we have, it's 9 weeks approximately. It's also a paid research experience. And we've been able to get some funding to help with transportation. But our main goal, again, is building on that Blue Economy goal of attracting, and we're focusing on community college students, because we feel that you represent a talented pool, diverse pool. And what happens at the four-year college is that people who are into the sciences, they often get into a lab, they start doing research, they get that whole part of their education. When you're at the community college, their coursework there, you don't have that opportunity to actually start doing research. So we would like for students from the community college to actually to be exposed to the research component, to the experimental, to getting that experience as part of your education, and then building that STEM identity. Maybe you don't know anybody in your family, you don't know anybody who has a STEM degree or who are a scientist, but you have been really interested in your science courses. And here's like an opportunity for you to get to know other people who are scientists, get into a science community and see what it has to offer for you. Again, during the weeks, it's getting introduced to those lab skills. So at the college, you might be having labs right now, you've completed some courses, but those labs are very different. Here you actually work on your own. We train you, but you become more comfortable in the lab, get to do run experiments on your own, plan experiments, analyze your results. So it's that whole part of scientific work, running, doing research. And we also have the students then take part as they're learning those research components, be part of and actually run a research, an experiment, a research project over the whole 9 course that the program lasts. And these are examples of research projects that we've had in these last few years. So I'm a microbiologist by training, and I've run this program since 2015. And we've always had this microbiology component, microbes from deep sea hydrothermal vents. So we worked on culturing and then analyzing their DNA. But lately, we've also introduced other research projects, kind of broadening our program into other research labs, including work on degradation of plastics, analyzing a local pond that's in the area, that's looking at the geochemistry, carbon, nitrogen, and so those elements, how they cycle and make this a unique environment. Coral work. One student last year was involved in growing corals. And also one student, that was Michaela here, she was looking at some of the invasive species and parasites that they'd found in some of these invasive crabs. Another thing, in addition, so the research component is important, but what we also, and what we feel maybe has most impact, is getting to be part of that science community. Woods Hole in itself, and I didn't cover that here, is a very unique area. It has several science institutions. The MBL, NOAA is there. We have, I'm forgetting, but there are several research institutions. So actually, Woods Hole becomes a hub for international, from scientists from all over the world that are there during the summer. There's some great seminars that are there that we participate in. We meet with other scientists. We meet with students who have been in the program before to see how did they do when they transition. What can you learn from them? We go on, a part of the program is also mentoring. So we want to see our students from their 2-year degree move on to a 4-year degree. And that becomes, that path is a lot of exploration as well. So we're hoping to aid the students in that transition. What do you look for in a 4-year college? When you get to the 4-year college, what do you do to enhance your chances of staying there and being happy there and finding a place where you can continue to do some of that research and explore? So we do this college visits, we do some fun field trips, and overall just building that STEM identity while having fun. So we're exposing you to how much fun science is. And that is really, there are a lot of people who you can relate to. We want you to feel at home in the science community. Again, so this program is for next summer, and we haven't even opened up the application yet. Just some brief 9 weeks. Again, is a full-time. We're looking for 6 students, some from Cape Cod, also from other local community college students. Our pay, and we also try to provide a little bit of travel support. I will be creating flyers. I'm planning on doing classroom visits, early spring. So look out for emails about this program. And here we were talking about long-term employment. And this is actually Nick. He was one of our first students, 2015. And he went to get an engineering degree, volunteered, while he was a student. And now he's working at WHOI full-time. So why do we want you to do this? What we're seeing is that our students are really there, or by being part of the program, first they're networking with each other. That's really important. They're getting to know other students who are finding interest in that STEM field. They're getting to know what the environment is like to work. They are getting exposure to more areas. Maybe they haven't even areas that you might not even have thought about before. Combinations of areas. You might be interested in music, but here you have some studies of acoustics underwater. So there are many of these connections. So we just want students to go on the fields, on these seminars, and get exposed to as much as possible. And another thing is kind of like they've mentioned during the talk yesterday, kind of take a breath, those like few minutes, and then you go ask, how do you get in? You try to look for opportunities. So knocking at those doors, asking the professors if there's something you're really interested in. Do they have a chance to work with you, or can you work with them? Writing letters of recommendations and so on. So that's like the deep plunge. That's where we want you to go. And we're seeing that the students that have come with us and have gotten both that research component and found some of that STEM identity, that they are continuing. They are succeeding when they're transitioning to those 4-year colleges. They're graduating from the 4-year colleges. They're either getting job in the sciences. We have 3 students now who are working on their graduate degrees, and we're really impressed by all of them. And they're doing this work at mostly Massachusetts schools, some state schools, some private schools. And then their areas of interest is anything, biochemistry, biology, earth science, engineering. We even have a psychology, a person who went on to study psychology. So these are the outcomes, and we feel, we want to invest in you, and we're hoping that you'll find some area within the ocean research that'll be really thrilling to you, where you can thrive. And if you would like to stay on the Cape, if that's where you see yourself, maybe who will be an employer for you in the future. And I can talk as much as I want, but I think a much better person to listen to is Theodora, because she was a student in the program last summer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Theodora, and I was part of the summer program, the CC crew. I wasn't part of the Blue Economy, so if you have any questions, you can ask more Greta and Kama. But CC crew was something that really changed everything for me. So like most of you, you probably have like tons of questions, and you don't know how to ask them, where to ask them. You don't know what exactly to go for in science, but you like science. So if is the situation for you, I do highly recommend to apply for the CC Crew program. So I'm going to give you a small overview of what was actually my summer at WHOI. So as you see from the pictures, I wasn't all the time in the lab or on the computer or working on that project. As Greta said, we actually had a lot of fun. If you end up being in that program, I do recommend just make connections, talk to people, and especially to your peers. We were 6 students and we ended up being actually really, really good friends. We still text, we have like a chat that we still keep in touch and talk. I'm also actually at Bridgewater with one of the students that I met on the CC Crew program. So, okay, overview. So how my weeks were going, we were going every day at around, I think, 9 o'clock in the morning, right? And we had, in the beginning, we had some meetings, regular meetings with Greta, and they were giving us like lectures, introducing us to like different, mostly microbiology stuff, but so many different things in science. And then you will be working in the lab that you are placed in with your mentors, but largely you're going to work on your own and really like develop that confidence in your skills. You can ask people questions, even if you are like, for me, I was placed in the chemistry department, but I'm actually in a physics program. So I was very interested what exactly the physical oceanography do. And I had the opportunity to just go there and talk to the scientists who work in the different departments. They're just happy to talk to any of you. You can ask them questions, how they ended up in that field and so on. We had some fun activities, like scheduled fun activities. We visited the library down at Woods Hole, which was one of my favorite things to do, actually. They have a rare book collection that you might know about, or if you don't, you will learn. We visited all of the different departments at WHOI. We also had some fun field trips. I was one of the luckiest students, I think, because my lab actually required bi-weekly field trips. And I'm going to talk more about my project on the next slide. Greta, thank you. Okay, so here is my project. So as I told you, I was placed in the chemistry department, and the laboratory I worked in was studying the nitrogen cycle in particular. So here is in the middle of the slide, you can see my poster, which I did at the end of the program. And we had a chance, actually, each one of us had to do that scientific poster, and we had the chance to present those on a 2-hour session, which was so fun. I was very tired at the end, talking for 2 hours, but it was such a great experience. So what I did during the summer was I studied the dynamics, physical and biogeochemical dynamics of Cedars Pond. And Cedars Pond is a not very small pond, and it's located in Falmouth, right next to Woods Hole, actually. We were going, you can see the top right corner is a picture of me and one of the PhD students. And we were sampling from the pond, as I said, every 2 weeks. We will get samples, water samples from a different depths, and for the next week, we'll analyze those, think about it really, and get into the real science. You will really get the feeling what science is and how people are studying it and how to utilize everything that you've learned to make predictions or theories. And the project I worked on is a large project. It will continue for 2 more years. And it's really studying the dynamics of that pond and how it will change. That's like the bigger picture, how it will change with our like ever-changing environment, also global warming, nitrogen input from all around the pond, like because it's situated in the middle of Falmouth, so there is a lot of human interference over there. And yeah, I can talk more, but we'll probably run out of time. So if you want, please ask questions. Other than that, I just want to give like an advice. If you don't know where you're going with STEM, that's definitely a great program to go and explore. Don't feel overwhelmed that you're not sure what exactly you want to do, because when I applied at 4Cs, I was thinking to do some engineering, then I went back to the pure physics, but then I actually had more classes in chemistry. I ended up at Woods Hole, did some chemistry research. I really like the biogeochemical stuff. But now I'm going back to physics. But at the end, I feel after this program, I feel much more confident in what I'm looking for and where to look. It's just such a great experience, and you will definitely feel much better about your future. Yes. Questions?
Into CC crew and going in.
I could not hear the question. I think it was like breaking or.
Okay, sorry. What was your background going into CC crew, and then also even just going into Cape Cod Community College? Like, did you already have school, or were you just kind of like starting out in STEM at that point?
Oh, actually, that's a very good question, because yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mention really any of my background. So I'm a non-traditional age student. I'm actually from Bulgaria, and I moved to Cape Cod to the United States 8 years ago. I have some background from my country, but that's totally irrelevant. Like, first of all, it being so long, I don't remember anything. So I decided to go back in school here and get an education from here. And directly to your question, my background priorities program was just a few science classes, not really a few science classes. I was at the end of my associate degree, but I had chemistry, general chem 1, general chem 2. I have a good math background, and that's it, kind of. I had like no experience in the science field as a job, if you are asking that. Like, I was working just the regular jobs on the Cape.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes. Anyone else?
I have a question. I guess it depends on different like focuses of someone's like work, but do you find that there's a balance between like field work and lab work, or does it kind of just depend on what your focus is?
So I never really thought about that, honestly. Now when you ask, I don't think so. There is a lot of good stuff that you can do even in the laboratory without going on a field trips. At the end, it's just like what you get from your research matters. It doesn't really matter if you're gonna go and do the samples yourself, or like if you're gonna actually analyze those, you will be the person who will analyze the sample, or someone else will analyze the sample for you, and you're the one who will think about the predictions, the theory, and so on. So it depends, whatever you like. Some people like to go. So for me, it was fun. But we were like 4 hours on the lake in the hottest days of the summer. I got sunburned like a couple times, but as you can see on the picture, I'm so happy to do it. Yeah, so it's just personal preference, I guess.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So one thing to kind of follow up with that is that when you are writing your applications, what you can do is take time and answer those those short answer questions. Like, let us know what your dreams are, what your hopes are, what type of work you would like to do, so that when it comes to our job in matching applicants with potential labs or potential final candidates with the labs, we try to make as good a match as possible. So that's what you can do. So don't just be too brief with those answers for both programs. Take time, answer the questions, and think about WHOI as a whole. It's ocean research. What is it within that realm that you would like to learn more about? Maybe where you can see yourself, or where you could dream what you would like to explore. So I think that's important. I really advise you to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree on that. And it's like really just like be honest and just say what you like about STEM. Like for me, going to Woods Hole, the main point was I really love science. I really like the chemistry part. And since we're living actually on the coast, I really, really wanted to learn more about it, the dynamics and everything. It will give you like a great view of what is going on actually on the coast. So it's great.
Any other questions? Well, I have one more slide. And this is, I don't know how many of you have heard about this. This is a field trip that's happening next Thursday. And it's Professor Bashara and then the STEM Club. They're actually going on a field trip down to WHOI and down to that center, to the Avast building or the David Center, where we saw the pictures from the Blue Economy. So we're actually, that short courses, those activities are going on. There'll be a chance, an opportunity for you to come down for a visit next week. And the trip actually happens, it's going to be, transportation is covered. It lasts from 11 till approximately 2 o'clock next Thursday. In order to, so it doesn't cost anything either. But you need to register here, as soon as possible if you have time during that time slot. And this is just to get contact information and some safety information and so on. So if you have an opportunity to come and would like to learn a little bit more about the work that's going on at WHOI, just get a little taste. Maybe that'll be inspiration to apply for one of these programs. And then you get to see us in person as well. And also I want to point out again, so this is my email address, saris@whoi.edu, and then Kama can be reached at the education@whoi.edu.
Great. Thank you all so much. I am going to send out an email after this with the links to both of the sites that have the applications and the contact information. So you can have those links in that email. I'm going to stop recording now, but we can open up if you have any more questions and you want to hang out for a moment. You're welcome to. Otherwise, thank you for coming and thank you for your excellent questions. That was a really great discussion.